Sitting on the couch. Sitting on the couch.
Bow, bow, bow. Yeah. There's shit on every hand you shook. If you don't believe me, look at your hand.
I forgot what a sea change that song really was at the time.
I love
because there were plenty of like the garage rock revival bands that like were bringing a very particular sound back. That's different.
No, this is so when
that
I heard
upped the lo-fi to a whole nother level.
No, this
of what was acceptable.
This hit me on like a Casio keyboard, Sophie's
Yes.
House, Cornish, and a turtleneck level, and I was like, "These are my people."
Yeah.
Immediately, like. Instantly, I was like, "These are my people for life."
And truly, like I was starting a band like at exactly the time that the Moldy Peaches and the Strokes were touring together.
Yeah.
And I don't know, there was something about like still kind of being uncertain about like, man, am I ever really going to be able to like, kind of like conceivably enter that world and like feel like I'm part of like the music that goes out into the world? And when I heard the Moldy Peaches.
Yeah.
And
everything
I was
changed.
like, oh, I'm ahead of the curve, and that's awesome.
Yes.
And like this is still great, and like anything I do is at least this like quality for like audio recording.
Yeah.
And I just hoped that I could eventually someday be as good a songwriter.
Oh my God, no! Their songwriting is out of control.
And speaking of, I still really like Adam Green's stuff, but he is nowhere near as compelling as a solo artist as Kimmy Dawson is.
No, he's not.
Not to throw any shade.
He does have some stuff that I'm like, okay, sure. But not, you're correct. I would agree with that. Not as compelling as Kenya.
Not that I think the Moldy Peaches together had anything much more to offer than they gave us. And we probably would be missing some Kimya and Adam tracks.
How dare you? I could listen to shit like this all day, every day, and I frequently do.
I'm suggesting, Kimya Dawson's vibe would be different if she did like her albums with Adam Green.
Fair.
Yeah,
fair.
That's where I'm like seeing an alternate future I don't prefer.
Okay, no, I think everybody went their own way at the right time.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I didn't know it could be like. I don't know. I didn't know you could do music like that.
Yeah,
I didn't know it was okay.
I didn't know it was acceptable to just like have fun and do exactly what you want and then like try to sell it to people.
Yeah.
Until this kind of band started populating my world.
That's like always, bar none, people who do the thing they like to do because they like to do it and they like they like the thing that they're putting out there into the world is always going to grab me and make me happy and make me love them more than some boxed pop shit that some producer threw together. And they're like, well, these are the things that sell. I don't give a fuck. Right. I want to hear that you're involved. I want to hear that you give a crap about what you're doing. I want to hear that. I want to hear your own voice and your own personality coming through. And that's 1 billion times more important to me than listening to the same shit everybody else is listening to because you want to fit in. I don't care about that at all.
And hearing the Moldy Peaches always makes me think of the Strokes as on that same token of kind of remembering that period. And this is still when I was like buying music magazines every other week. But anything about the Moldy Peaches was very much just like, oh yeah, they allowed us to talk to them for a few minutes.
Yeah,
like that was their vibe.
Yeah.
And the Strokes, on the other hand, seem to represent another spectrum of that kind of like lo-fi music world, which was, we are trying so much harder than we want you to notice we're trying.
Yeah.
And the vibe really did make a difference, I think, in the long run of like what we remember very fondly and what is maybe unfairly remembered as a band trying too hard.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Moldy Peaches just truly gave no fucks and did exactly what they wanted and had fun, and maybe got a little lucky, that it happened when it did, like we were talking about earlier.
I don't know. I feel like that's Kimya's whole vibe. Like,
yeah.
Go look up Kimya and look at pictures of her. She will do an entire set in a full bunny costume. Her daughter's name is Panda.
They were wearing like capes and stuff when they were traveling with the hipster bands,
They're like original punk to me. That's kind of like the whole. I'm like this. You know what it feels like? They feel like townies.
Sure.
They feel like your friends from your hometown
Yeah.
who are local, and that they're the ones whose house you go over that have a barber shop in the living room, and they live above it, and they play their full upright bass up there, and they wear skirts, and like.
And they're as surprised as anybody that they get to tour now.
I'm describing someone very specific, by the way, of course. But like that's that vibe. This is my junior theater crew that I hung out with. This is the weird kids that like roamed around and smoked cigarettes in the alleys and just got up to like low key hoodlum shit.
Yeah.
But we're super cool about it all the time. These are the Diag rats. These are my people. These are my people instantly. Yeah. I just referenced a whole bunch of shit only people from Ipsy are gonna understand.
Yeah.
Well, and Ann Arbor, but that's
I don't know. I think like towniness translates.
Yeah, it is. It's a specific kind of. It feels accessible.
Yeah.
It feels like something you can be a part of, which is cool.
For what they're doing musically, there's no one that can't go out to a thrift store, buy an instrument they've never played before, and in a week's time put songs together that kind of have that feel to them.
Yeah.
You know, I'm assuming there's more musicianship at this point for them when I think they were still like teenagers or in their very early 20s.
Yeah, I think very early 20s.
But like again, like you said, it seems attainable on first listen.
Well,
I could do that.
There is one thing that we cannot attain. Well, that I think you can, but I never could. Is their just geniusness with their lyrics and their songwriting. They're taking such low key simple stuff and turning it into something really special, and that's hard to do.
Anytime I talk to people that have been writing for a while, it always kind of comes down to the same stuff of like the more in your head you get about what you're trying to do, the less easy it comes.
Yeah.
And so and there is kind of or there was a stage for me, probably around the same age that the Moldy Peaches were doing stuff, where like there were no wrong answers.
Yeah.
It's like anything that popped in my head, I wrote it down and I put it to music.
Awesome.
And to have that solidified in this moment in time, I think is, you know, those time capsules of youth that just don't give a fuck. That's where you're always trying to get back to if you've been doing something long enough. You're always trying to recapture.
Yeah.
You know?
That I don't know why that reminds me of Fritz Haber, but it does. Do you know who that is?
The name is familiar.
He's a really interesting character, and I don't want to go into a whole history lesson, but he is the man who invented how to pull nitrates out of the air to put in the ground because the world was starving.
Oh, okay.
After World War One, the world was right before World War One was really truly starving. He's a chemist, and he developed a process and a machine for how to pull nitrates out of the air and put it in the ground to fertilize the ground so we can grow more crops. Guaranteed, anybody who is listening to this, you have eaten food from the Haber process. You have eaten food because of what he did at the turn of the century, which is very cool. Yeah, he also accidentally invented the gas that the Nazis used in the gas chambers. He created a bunch of stuff because he wanted to he was German. He wanted to, and he's Jewish, and he wanted to work for the motherland. And prove himself. So he invented that process, and it really brought, after World War One, it really brought a lot back. He invented gassing, which is where all the mustard gas and stuff comes from in World War One. So thanks for that too, dude. But he's killed millions of people. But at the same time, Phil's looking at me like, you need to stop this.
Why are we talking about this?
Because remember, he spent the rest of his life trying to recreate his success with the Haber process.
I see this.
There's it came around.
Yeah, no, we got there.
I'm done.
I love you.
I'm done on my weird history lesson.
Here's the magnetic fields.
Sorry.
I don't believe you.
Sorry, I don't know where that came from.
I love you.